intro too. Look at that. This is on the intro video. Yeah, we back. We are back, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host, as usual, Jarrett, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. And you know I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby? I got it. Wait, you on mute? You on mute?
Am I good? Am I good?
I'm sorry. Good. His audio's going. Sorry, audio listeners.
I ain't gonna lie. I thought you was gonna count in the West Indian voice. I was looking forward to. I said he's gonna count in the West Indian voice.
Oh, I might have. My West Indian voices. I don't want to disrespect.
That's why I was sitting here listening for. I said he's gonna put on the West Indian accent. I just know he's gonna do it.
It's coming throughout the one more blue moon or two. I promise you.
I'm gonna be honest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really excited about this episode. I'm a little bit sad because my cousin and Kerry Ann have already met. Okay, normally a lot of our guests that come on the show, this is our first time meeting them. We link up online, but having conversations, this is our first time. But I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. They've met already.
Family.
And went to a barbecue and had some food. And y'all know I'm a foodie, and I feel slighted. I feel slighted. Please put up the. Where's my crying face? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on.
Where it go? It be like that, man. No, I'm telling you, like, so for those listening, our guest today, Kerry, is first of all, you know, is a good friend of mine, good friend of the show, supportive. Yes. I've been on her show, the Internal Marketing Podcast. We always support each other's LinkedIn posts, and even on just days, it's just like, yo, just need a little pickup. Yo, are you good, brother? Are you good, Jarrett? Are you good, Kerry? We just checking on the family, and it's just love. So I'm honored because this is the first time I'm More Than the Title. You was on Rankable. So this is the first time on More Than a Title. So we're honored to have you, Queen. And for those listening, before we begin, shout out to y'all, the listeners, the subscribers, the followers across every platform. We're growing and glowing every week because of y'all. Right now, we are almost at 80,000 for the month. 80,000 impressions and views just on YouTube alone, y'all. So because of y'all, we keep doing this thing, and we're all about giving authentic stories from people like this queen below, because we're all more than the title. You heard? We're all more than the title. Oh, you're on mute again. What's up with your mute?
I'm sorry, my brother.
Damn it. Is he ready?
I'm sorry, my brother.
We need to feed Chad some jerk chicken and pick up, maybe give him a different kind of energy.
We're going to try to do better. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be working on this accent all episode, just so you know.
Yeah, you know, before we begin, this is about to be one of them ones, man.
And am I saying it right, Kerry? You done know.
You don't know. Oh, I love it. I love it.
And if you don't know about our partners, make sure y'all subscribe and download the app. Shout out to the Live Podcast Network, the first women-owned, black-owned podcast network in the world. And if you want more black content from content creators like More Than the Title, make sure y'all download the app. And with your subscription, half of your subscription goes back to the content creators. So it's not a lot of platforms or any platform giving it up like that. So shout out to Angel and the entire team, and we're proud to be alive. You dig? And with that said, my brother,
let's start the show.
But that's how I'm gonna give this queen the introduction she requires, right? So this queen, she's more than just a marketer. She's a force to be reckoned with in the world of business and community leadership. With over 20 years of experience in marketing, she currently leads the marketing efforts at JMMB Group, which is a prominent Caribbean-based financial services group. But the impact doesn't stop there. As the producer and host of the Internal Marketing Podcast, she's on a mission to transform marketing conversation. She's all about empowering businesses to market internally, empowering employees to become ambassadors of their own brand. She's also, her influence extends beyond the boardroom. She's also a member of the Forbes Communication Council, a leader in her local community, spearheading programs like the Big Sister Initiative. And let's join her as we introduce this queen, the CMO of JMMB Group, Miss Kerry Ann Betton Stimpson, y'all. Yeah. I had a couple more sentences. I'm like, oh, no. You about to give him that work, sis.
Listen, man. You know, with an intro like that, you know, I don't even know.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I first have to say, Wagwan.
Wagwan.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica, where it is hot. Let me tell you.
What the weather like today is what, 102? under
Oh
the
my
shade?
God. So it's like 92 degrees high today we had, but with the humidity, it felt more like about 105. It's crazy hot right now.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
great beach weather though.
Hold on. I'm confused. You said it felt like 105 degrees?
With the humidity, yeah, once the humidity.
Hated it.
Now I understand why the guys wear the wife beaters with all the holes in them.
Yeah. Gotta keep cool. Gotta have to keep cool.
Need the ventilation.
Did that originate in Jamaica? Real talk.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised because we've surely taken it on as our own.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never seen it anywhere else other than like Jamaica.
And no other
That's
country.
true.
I'm
That's
gonna be
true.
honest. Have you ever seen it, Jarrett, anywhere else? Because
No.
I've never seen it anywhere other than like Jamaica.
Me either. But
can-
yeah.
Even in New York, the Jamaicans here wear it.
That's a fact. The question
And
is,
you know-
are you rocking one next week?
And you know, those quote unquote shirts, they have an awful name attached to them. You know what we call them in Jamaica?
No.
We call them wife beater.
Oh, wife
we
beaters.
call them
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's what we call them, wife beaters.
Oh,
here.
okay. I thought it was us because
you need your good beater.
No. That's what we
No.
call them, the beater. Yeah, that's the beater.
Got one on right
Oh
now.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I got an all white one on.
I don't know why they call it that. I hate
undershirt.
it, but
Yeah.
it's just I just call it the
Yeah.
beater.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
we don't support that over here.
So that maybe Hayes, if you're listening, we need the origin of the nickname wife beater to the Hanes undershirt or the Fruit of the Loom undershirt, because that's what it is. It's an undershirt. So Hayes, Hayes is our resident researcher. You ask him and he'll find a Hayes. If you're listening, we need you to find the origin story of why they call undershirts the tank undershirts wife beaters. I really would like to know that.
I want to know.
I
But
really would like to know that.
Shit, that's a good segue. Now you're talking origin stories. Let's talk about origin stories, sis. Let's
do
talk
it.
about growing up in Kingston, Jamaica. What was that like, sis? What are some of your early influences?
Oh man. Well, of course. So Jamaica, of course, as beautiful as it is, it's still a developing country, right? And I think where I like to start back with people is, there is a difference between our history, even though we're in the same hemisphere as the United States. Our history is different to the extent that there would have been indigenous Indians that would have inhabited Jamaica in much the same way you have Indians. You would have had Indians there originally in North America. And then, of course, Christopher Columbus came, found us out over here and decided, of course, with his fellow Caucasians, brought African slaves over to plow the land. And we became known for countries like that, us who developed things like sugarcane. And we didn't really have cotton. Cotton wasn't a big deal for us. It was more sugarcane, actually, for us, sugarcane and bananas. But of course, with the emancipation of slaves, what would have happened is that there was no other way for Caucasians to earn and live the opulent lifestyles to which they would have been accustomed. And so what happened with us is that Caucasians left. Whereas in the United States, Caucasians kept coming, too, because you guys have a lot of natural resources, gold and all these things that attracted more Caucasians from Europe to come. Our Caucasians left, leaving us Black people here. I mean, that's really it. So our population is over 90% Black in Jamaica, right? And so, and indeed, for the...
Yeah, we both hit at the same time. You got a bell because you took us to school, and you get a celebration.
I just before you go past that, I really cannot allow you to run past that. I think that is such a beautiful thing to be able to say that our population is 90% Black.
Yes,
that is so beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
you know what that means? It's that means that your country is your culture almost through and through, with very little influence and from outside culture. That's such a beautiful thing that you can say that and then understand that how that relates to your people and your society and your beliefs. They're untainted. And you can believe that generations to come now can learn the true message that your country wants to send to its indigenous. But that's such a beautiful thing.
Message.
I'm sorry. I had to. That is such a beautiful thing, because if you know, as us people, black and brown people, one of the biggest things that we have struggled with is identity. Is identity. And why do we struggle with identity? Because what did Christopher Columbus and the people that enslaved people do? The first thing they do is they strip your identity, strip your religion, strip your ways of life, and implement theirs.
Message.
I'm sorry. We could not run past that. I'm sorry, Kerry. We could not.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that. And you know, the thing is that, so you're right. I mean, so that's why I shared that history, is that as a black person, as a black woman, I realized very quickly, because I did my MBA in the United States, which is another story for later in the show. But growing up as a black woman or black person in a black country comes with certain benefits. It means that all of our government leaders are black. The majority of our business leaders would, of course, be black. I mean, we do have other races represented, like Lebanese, Asian, Indian, you know, that sort of thing, and of course Caucasians. But because they're in the minority, you pretty much see most of yourself in the advertising, in your marketing, in your messaging, and even again back to the African influence or culture, because we do still have Caucasian influence, because the dominant religion here is Anglican and Catholicism, the Catholicism Anglican influence. But we still have a lot of African influence that still permeates a lot of our music, of course, reggae music, or dancing, or culture, or history. So it really has been a blessing in that regard, being able to grow up in a country where you are the dominant race. Of course, that said, we still got our mess going on as black people too. And I think a lot of what you even experience in the black culture in the United States, we too experience. And one of the big things that we experience is what I call colorism or shadism. So even though we're all black, it's like, oh, well, the lighter skinned blacks are deemed as perhaps more beautiful. Or at one point in time in our history, I would say shortly after we got independence from Britain in the 60s and then going into the 70s, there are certain jobs that if you were too darkly complected as a black person, you couldn't even get, like bank teller roles. Like you couldn't be a teller in a bank if you were too dark skinned.
Crazy.
So even today, even as a people, we struggle with, like now people wouldn't say to me, like, even like, look at me, they're like, oh, you're not black, you're brown. I'm like, but I'm black. I'm like, you go to the United States, I'll be black. But in Jamaica, we're still very much in a place, I think, sometimes of colorism, and then of course classism, uptown versus downtown, because naturally, unfortunately, as human beings, we always try to find these points of comparison still. But not to discount the fact that, hey, we are in a majority black country, which obviously has its benefits, but as a people, we still have a ways to go in terms of how we connect with each other, how we relate, and how we build each other up collectively without division. So yeah, that's probably another show, another conversation.
No, that's real. Because as Chad was saying that, I was thinking sometimes that's a gift and a curse, right? Sometimes we are our worst enemy, right? And when you think about the colorism, the classism, some of the things that you mentioned, right? And I would just think resources, right? If it's not a diverse nation, then certain resources are just not going to be at our disposal, right? So that's where you get the classism and things like that. The opportunities just handed down over generation, and not too much new opportunity, right? So with that said, like, what was it like growing up though? Like, did you feel that growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, what I would have felt, and of course times have changed versus what probably my daughter is experiencing now as a teenager. But growing up, we would have experienced things like, wanting to adapt to things that would have been seen as anti-black because it looks better. So I remember when I was growing up, having natural hair was not a thing. The first thing you wanted to do was to relax your hair to get it straight, because hey, straight hair is what's beautiful, right? And so again, even now we still have a phenomenon of bleaching of the skin.
Yes.
Right. For a lot of people, you're not you bleaching of the skin because I don't want to be too darkly complected, that sort of thing. So those are things that I would have experienced growing up, some of which still happens today. But certainly classism, I would say, is probably the biggest influence that would have impacted how I grew up, or certainly what I would have witnessed growing up. So again, as a third world developing country, you have easily half of the population that lives below the poverty line, right? And when we talk about poverty in the third world, it's poverty. I was saying to a friend of mine the other day that when I'm in the United States and I see a food bank setting up, people drive up in their SUVs to the food bank. In Jamaica, you have old ladies who are barefooted or maybe just have some flip-flops that are taking a bus to get a bag of rice, sugar, flour, and cornmeal, because that's what our food bank is. It's a poverty in a third world country is a very, very different dispensation. And and then of course things like healthcare is not what it is, in the first world. Education and access to quality education is not what it is in the first world. So growing up in a developing country, you're talking about fighting for scarce resources and the survival of the fittest. And so for Jamaicans, which is why it's always said that easily half of the Jamaican population lives outside of Jamaica as much as lives in Jamaica, because a lot of Jamaicans sought to migrate to find better opportunities for themselves, because things here are not always as easy to access and be successful as perhaps in a first world country environment, even though we're in the minority in the United States, for example.
That's real.
I mean, one of the things that we preach, Kerry Ann, is becoming a worldly person. You must travel to understand culture. You must travel to learn appreciation truly for what you have, because it's only when you see what others have, either more or less, you can value really what you have, right? And I'm telling you, I've been to so many countries, and I agree with you. Like when I see children and just people truly, and my cousin, anybody that knows me, I'm not a wasteful person. Like I'm a person that, like, if you throw out leftovers, it's almost a fight in my house. Like Thanksgiving is like Christmas to me. Like I eat for like 3 weeks straight. Like I'm not a wasteful person, but a lot of that comes from us coming up in poverty. Even though it wasn't that bad for us, a lot of times I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. Like, be clear. Like, I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. There was many a day we got on the food pantry line or ate at what we call soup kitchens, which were churches that prepared meals. And if you had to be online by a certain time and they let a certain amount of people in, you would get your meal and then you would have to leave and things of that nature. So I carry that lesson with myself, regardless of what my success looks like at this point, even as an adult, right? Because I feel like we have to, because there's people out there that have it way worse than what we have it. And we take for granted what we have, then it really makes us look really bad. You understand? It really puts a bad cloud on top of us, and it shows like we're ungrateful and we're not appreciative of the opportunities that have been presented to us. You know what I mean?
But you can have that perspective. You've tried, like you said, you've seen it. You know what I'm saying? Until you see it, if we got some people here, Kerry, that have
never left the borough.
Neighborhood, never left the borough.
Yeah.
So they couldn't even imagine that. Like hearing this is like, damn, there's people actually living like that you don't know, and they would be much more grateful for what they do have and not be acting certain ways that they are now. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of what fuels the success of Jamaicans and other Caribbeans who migrate, because of course, the perennial joke, Jamaicans have 10 jobs and,
damn it, that was the clip. You're supposed to put the hair on. As soon as he said, hey, you got 10 jobs.
Listen, Cuzzo, because I love you and I don't never want to let you down. I love you, baby.
He's on his team. I love
you, baby.
He's on his team.
And I'm here to support you, my brother.
Now on, that's how you pod.
I want you to do that every time.
Every time, that's how you pod. I'm
here
sorry,
to support you, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but you know, Kerry Ann, America itself, the land of immigrants, right? People have migrated to America for one thing, and really one thing only: the possibility of a better life.
Yes, indeed.
Right? But it's what we talk about, right? You are now a very educated woman. You're of a certain economic standpoint. You have children growing up the way you did. Now you're at a different point. The question now is, how much do you give your children? You want to give them everything, but But now it doesn't provide that imbalance of they didn't have to struggle for nothing, so they're not going to appreciate it. This is the balance now that we talk about, right? So Jamaicans and immigrants and Irishmen, when they were immigrants, and the people that have come here, they all technically hard workers, right? Spanish people, because they come from almost nothing. Then they say the people here are lazy because we were born into the society, into the system. So it's one of those conversations. I think that there is no right answer to that. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do. Like, so that's a great that's a great segue, because I want to know what was your experience growing up, so we can understand some of the challenges you faced. Because, like, once again, you regardless of the challenges and obstacles you've come, you're still a successful woman right now. You're doing your thing, right? There are a lot of opportunities. Like, you had to fight and claw. You had to work and earn that shit. You know what I mean? So I'm curious. I just want to see what the ascension was, and now what opportunities presented to your children.
Right. So, well, first of all, just full disclosure, I am probably about 2 or 3 generations out of slavery, right? So to go back into my history, my great grandmother would have been a domestic on the plantation.
Wow.
And was sexually assaulted by one of the overseers who was Caucasian. Wow. And she was impregnated against her will and had my grandmother. Right?
Hell no to the no.
That's deep.
Yeah. So my grandmother, well, I mean, of course, we're speaking in history. So my grandmother would have been born to a woman who really didn't want her. And so my grandmother was raised by this is my paternal grandmother. She was raised by an aunt who did a very good job. But the aunt's message to my grandmother was education is your way to a better life, right? And so my grandmother focused on education, worked hard, went to teachers' college, as we call it, became a teacher and a principal, met a fellow teacher, they married and had 4 children, one of whom was my dad. And their message to them as struggling teachers, because, hey, teachers are not wealthy by any means in this country.
Method.
Yeah. Probably not in the United States either, from what I see on the news.
No. And it's a travesty.
Exactly. Really unfortunate. So they said to each of the 4 kids, including my dad, education is your way out. And for each of those 4 kids, they would have placed importance on school, did well. My dad went to school and worked his way up and eventually became a doctor. My dad was a doctor. He passed 2 years ago, unfortunately. But even as a doctor, I was able to get access to certain things like a quality education, but it was always about the importance of education. I always tell the story when I graduated from university with my bachelor's, and we're at my graduation ceremony and we're taking pictures and everybody's excited. My father was standing up there very stoic, very serious. He's like, "What are we celebrating about? You haven't done your master's yet. Why are we celebrating? You just have a bachelor's. We're not stopping until you get to a master's. When you get the master's, then we'll celebrate." And
wait, don't go past that. Let me just add into this. Children see it, but don't understand it. Let me say it again. Children see it, don't understand it. Cuzzo, if I'm wrong, correct me. In almost every school that I've ever been to, in almost every graduation that I've ever attended, the valedictorian and maybe the salutatorian were immigrant children. Children that are not of
now that you say that, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right now.
If I'm wrong, correct me. But almost every school that I've went to, especially countries that are third world, like poor, like if they come from Africa, or these kids come in, they don't have friends, they don't hang out, they study. Their average is 4. If 4.0 is the highest, they got like a 4.5. They done did extra credit. No, I'm serious. If I'm mistaken, please tell me. So we see it and don't even process it as children. Look at what's happening right in front of us. I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say that.
That's an interesting point because, and I raise it because even though my dad was a doctor, I mean, we never, I didn't grow up with yachts or, first class vacations every summer. Not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, education was, we had a comfortable life to the extent that, we didn't have to fight for food or anything, but there was still, look, education is the way out. So again, it was like, okay, you're not stopping until you get your master's. And then when I went to the University of Maryland, College Park, Robert H. Smith School of Business, got my MBA, that's when you saw the celebration. And, it's a point I make too, even going to school in the United States for 2 years. Being Black in the United States is one thing. Being a Black international with no rights, no citizenship, no green card is another, right?
Message.
So I tell people, you complain about DE&I. DE&I doesn't apply to me because I have no rights in the United States. So there are certain scholarships I couldn't apply for. Forget financial aid. Certain jobs I couldn't apply for. Or if you apply for it and they find out that you're an international, they cancel the interview. Even if they had you down for, they're canceling it because they're like, oh, you're not. Oh no, we're not going to sponsor you for a work visa. We don't do that, or certainly not for that role. And so it was. I ended up coming right back home to Jamaica because I couldn't find a job in the United States. So it's really about recognizing that we still had to work very, very hard for anything that we wanted to achieve. And so that's the experience that I would have had in my early years for sure.
Do you think that still applies now?
Oh, it absolutely still does. Because immigration laws don't change. In fact, they've probably gotten tighter over the years than they were for me when I was in Maryland in the 2000s. But I think it's about the same. I think probably what we're struggling with right now is that I don't know if enough parents are recognizing that, we're working so hard to give our children what we didn't have. Are we working just as hard to give them those fundamental things that we did have that made us into the people who we are today? I remember my daughter when she started high school in Jamaica, one of the first things she wanted was a new smartphone because, hey, all the kids had one. And we're like, we're not getting you a smartphone. We got her what we call a little banger. What do you guys call it over there? Just a little peanut phone, that makes calls and sends SMS. That's what it does. Because we're like, that's all you need a phone for. We're not giving you a smartphone yet, right? Yeah. And she was quite upset, big crying. Well, all the kids are going to laugh at me. We're like, you know what? We're managing expectations. We're managing, what you think life should look like or the things you should have. And, a 13-year-old, because that's the age we start high school here, a 13-year-old with the most expensive iPhone and you don't even have a job. That's not the lesson we're trying to teach you right now. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So for us, we're very deliberate on making sure that our children, as best as possible, remain grounded in a world that tells them that they should have everything, So
that's so rare that you said that because we're the complete opposite here in our culture. That's just that's the reality of it, right? I know people that be in the project, and there's no slight to them. It's just what it is. The culture is what it is, right? I know people that have Burberry for their kids, Jordans, every name brand you could think of. Gucci, this Micah Mary's at 4 years old. I'm like, God damn, you fresh. You feel me, bro?
Okay. Yell at me then. We keep it real on this show, ladies and gentlemen. No. We keep it real on this show, ladies and gentlemen. My son just walked upstairs. He's 22 years old. On his fifth birthday, his teacher called me. He's in first grade. She's like, Mr. Fernandez, I'm panicking. What happened? She's like, does your son have on kid Prada sneakers? Is that a custom Pele jacket? I'm like, yeah, I went crazy. Yeah, you don't know what I had to do to go to get that, and I had to order that. He looked fresh, right? She was like, those sneakers are like $400. That jacket's probably like $500. He has on $1,000 outfit. I'm like, yeah. She's like, no. I'm like, why not? I'm not gonna lie to you, Kerry Ann. I'm guilty of that.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm Cuzzo. I'm gonna be transparent, right? You yell at people, yell at me. I am guilty for that because I wanted to give my child a life that I never had.
That's the thing.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, we don't lie on this show.
We all want to do it.
I'm guilty of doing that.
Yeah.
We all want to do it. And I can't tell you, I've made mistakes too, or what I deem to be mistakes, where I'm like, that's probably a little bit too much. I shouldn't have kind of given them so much rope, But ultimately, we're not perfect. We're not preaching perfection here. But at the end of the day, we just as parents, my encouragement is, and even in Jamaica, we have people still, as we talk about poor people in the ghetto who don't have much, but still probably have more expensive shoes on than I do, or have watching a more expensive positive television set, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, we really do need to stay grounded to the fact that, you know, we need to keep it real. We need to be focused on the things that are sustainable and the things that really make for a positive outcome later in life, instead of just being sucked in by materialism.
Message.
That's it. That's real. You can't say better than that.
No, she's right. She's right. You're right, Kerry Ann, 100,000%. Our culture is just based on, we have fought, scraped, scratched, bled, begged for so long. When you finally get a little piece and you feel like you want to just give it back. You understand what I'm saying? That's just the best rationale that I could just put to it. You just have to draw a line, right? Between nurturing them and providing a better life, and showing them the balance of what it is to earn that better life. So the balance between giving and earning. That's all I have to say about that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Love it.
That's real.
Yeah, because, you know, as a parent, right? The primary goal of a parent, let's talk without materialism. What is the primary goal of a parent? To provide a better life, no matter what your life is, right? No matter what level you are, to provide a better life, a little bit more easier, a little bit more sustainable for the next generation. Give them a foot up or a head start than where you started. I think that's just the primary goal of.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, so, you know, I struggled with that early, but with me, I can just say, with me being military also and going through what I went through, I drew the line very, very early. With me going through poverty and being so attached to things, once I realized, like, okay, and my son, like, I think it was like second grade, third grade, he came home from summer camp without a sock. I'm like, where's your sock? And the next day he came home without a t-shirt. Where's your, oh, we went to the pool. Okay, let's try this again. I don't care if the t-shirt costs $1 or $100. If you do not bring everything that you walked out this door with the next day, then you will not wear nothing. Like, now we have to start implementing that earning, because now you're not valuing, because it's just being given to you. You're not valuing what it takes to get these items that are just being given to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I started there.
And you know, can we also pause, you know, to give ourselves some grace as Black people, because we really have not done the healing and the restoration that we need to do coming out of slavery, which, even though slavery would have been finished many years ago, we've really just begun to barely scratch the surface of the healing and restoration that needs to happen as a people, based on what happened to us for all of those generations before then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even if you go to somewhere that's as fantastic as the African American Museum of History and Culture, which I encourage everybody to do, when you realize that families were separated, people lost their husbands, their wives, their children, separated, sold to different families, never to see them again. We can't connect to our roots in the same way that almost every other race can. Up to very recently, we couldn't even sit on the same bus in the same seats as certain people in our grandparents' generation, in our parents' generation. And so until we've really properly dissected what that has done to us as a people, and the work that we really need to do to come out of that and be restored from that, the script has not yet been finished, written on that. And so as we learn to give our children what we didn't have and what we know they should have, at the same time, as Black people, we need to be connected to what's the healing and what's the message and the lesson that I also need to be passing on to the next generation of my children who are growing up as Black people in a world that's still struggling to accept us based on just who we are and the color of our skin.
Message.
No, you're absolutely right, Queen. I was gonna go another, but you didn't said it so eloquently. I don't even want to make another point. I don't want to say another point on it.
No man, say what you're saying.
Oh, you said so?
Say what you're saying. Yeah.
No, you know, to have these talks is very, very, very important. It's very important because she touched on a lot of things, primarily healing, the healing. And until we start to deal with that trauma head on, we are technically subconsciously passing it down generationally.
Yep.
We're subconsciously passing that trauma down subconsciously. Like she talked about, she talked about the fair skin. So my grandmother that just passed away now 2 years, my family's primarily my mother's side from Savannah, Georgia, from the South. She was alive during segregation. She was alive during the times where they had to go to different schools. And the crazy part about it was her mother is like a little lighter than you. Her sister is the same complexion, but she is my complexion. And my uncle, which is her brother, is my complexion. So in her own household, the difference of the treatment between her and her sister from her mother, never, and I'm telling you this, never left her until she ended up passing on. That trauma right there, she wore that her entire life.
Yeah, but it's like the AA meetings, right?
Yeah.
What is the problem? It's identifying the problem, right?
Yeah.
How do we identify that we have the trauma? We can't fix the problem if we don't know we have it. We're just going through life and we're just life be life, and we think we're supposed to feel this way. We think it's a normal, natural reaction. Like, how would we know, right? So that's why I was going to get to you, Queen. Like what? How do we start this healing process? Like, what does that look like? Because we know the importance of it. What we can do is tell the story, make sure our story and narratives get told. But what other than that? It's hard for us to come through as a collective. Your trauma is different from mine.
Yeah.
That's like so difficult. I'm sorry.
And I'm not even going to pretend that I have the answer to that, Jarrett, because it really is so complex.
Absolutely.
But, I think what we need to do is, of course, identify the symptoms. What are the things that are manifesting in our community that demonstrate that there is trauma, and finding the root of where that trauma comes from? Even just when I look at some of our leaders, when you think of what's happening even in certain African countries where they're predominantly Black populations, and the rumors, and even in the Caribbean too, rumors of corruption in leadership, or politicians just not being fair in their dealings with the population, the electorate, and how they're sharing up resources and things like that. All of those things, I think, point back to the fact that as a people, we are yet to sit down and collectively arrest and understand what's causing all of the different behaviors and things that manifest in the breakdown of the connectivity that we should be feeling more so as Black people. Yeah. And so my suggestion is that we need to have a hard conversation as to what are the symptoms that we're seeing, how does it manifest, and go back to, well, what's the trauma that needs to be fixed? It's a big psychological question. Again, I don't think I have the answers, but I don't think we have properly peeled back the layers of that trauma and the kind of healing that needs to take place. And it needs to happen. It just needs to.
I would love to have a psychologist or something come on the show and really break that shit down. I ain't gonna lie to you. I would love that. And we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make that happen. But another segue too, to just lighten it up a little bit, sis. When you came to the US, you got your degrees, right? And you said you couldn't get the degrees, but you had to come back. What did the opportunities look like back in Jamaica, right? Like what was the first role look like, and what did that ascension look like to where you are now?
Right. Yeah. So finishing my MBA, I would have come back to Jamaica, not being successful in my job hunt in the States. So I came back to Jamaica, and it was like, well, what do I do now? What I realized, it's true, and a lot of people don't know this, but most of the success that you will experience in the job hunt is actually through networking and relationships.
Method.
Less so through just sending out your resume. Let's just keep it real. Yeah. Right. And I know, Jarrett, you know this, and I'm sure Chad does too, where, you can send out a ton of cold resumes, but at the end of the day, it's networking, it's relationship building, it's people who are just calling your name when you're not in the room. Absolutely. That's typically where the opportunities come from. And so for me, it was one of my sisters at church who heard from my dad that I was back looking for a marketing job, and she had a vacancy at the company that she worked for, and she put in my application, and I was one of the 2 candidates that they considered. And you know, I got the role. I didn't get the role that I thought I should have gotten, meaning it wasn't as senior as a role I should have gotten having had a master's degree, but I was kind of like desperate. I'm just going to take it. So it was like junior marketing officer type role. And I just took it because, hey, that was what was available. And I'd been job hunting by about 7 months by then. But you know what? There was nobody above me at the time. And that's what I say to people. Sometimes you never get the dream role. It's what do you do with the role that you get? Right? Yeah.
See, we talk about that now all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you want to. Everybody wants to be at the mountaintop. I have not run into a person that if you ask them honestly, right? Would you like, if I gave you a job tomorrow in any industry that you like to be in, and I could place you somewhere towards the top echelon of that industry where they would turn that down? I have not met a person that would be like, hell yeah, I'd like to start making 100,000, 200, 300,000 instead of making 20,000 and getting coffee for somebody. Everybody wants to be at the top, but what you have to understand is sometimes, more often than not, in any industry, you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Especially us.
Yeah.
Especially us.
You got to work twice as hard, make half as many mistakes, and be respectable, sir.
Absolutely. And you know what that said, but you said something that was key. It was relationships. And with that said,
we got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
Relationships are everything, y'all. If you want to know how to build better relationships, take your phone out, get the QR code. We got the OTB How to Build Relationships and Revenue course right now. You get your More Than a Title mug. You get your More Than a Title hat. You might have some exclusive content from us and Kerry soon. You don't know. Make sure you scan it. Make sure you make it happen. You did.
What I do know is
wow.
I got on that OTB merch right now.
Look at that. Would you look at that? Look at my guy.
I got on that OTB merch right now, so you know
you can get it right now. You see what he just had on? It's your size right now. You get a medium, a schmedium, a large. All this days coming up. Stop playing.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The schmediums are not available. I'm biased. I'm the only one in the schmedium. You could get a small or a large. The schmedium middle. I got the one and only schmedium.
I'm going out to France in a schmedium like this. I don't fuck if it ain't gonna be back in the 90s like this on niggas popping out that shit. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
You know, but I agree with you, Kerry. Your father says something that I agree with 2,000%. Education is the key. And whoever else said it to you, I agree with them. Education has always been the key to success. It has always been something that they know you can take away my clothes, you can take away my house, anything that is of physical value, you can take away. But you can't take away this knowledge, because once I possess it, that's it. It's infinite. It's infinite, right? And we talk about this on the show a lot. If you go back to the slavery days, you could do things to get you beat. You do things to get you without food and all of that. But there was very few things that you could do other than run away that would get you killed. And one of those things was trying to learn how to read or trying to learn how to write, the education, because they
message.
Back then, they knew without a shadow of a doubt back then, we have to keep them as dumb and as uneducated as possible, because the moment they educate themselves, they're going to start talking. The moment they educate themselves, they're going to start rallying. The moment they educate themselves, they're going to start fighting back. And that's exactly what happened. So
I know they should never let these brothers start a podcast. Who gave them a fucking mic? Who gave them a mic? Get your ass beat.
You can't take it away now.
You trying to give all this information now. You shitting me?
You know what I mean? Education is key.
It is.
And when we say education, I want to be clear for the listeners, right? Education just means learning something, taking information, and then hopefully doing something with it that becomes now knowledge at this point, right? Because information without movement or without you doing any type of action is only information. It becomes knowledge and it becomes actionable once you start putting it into play, right? And that doesn't mean go to college, right? Take an internship, right? Take a mentorship, right? Learn a skill, go to a technical school, learn something, because without learning something, then technically you're invaluable to society, because you're not going to have the skills that it takes to survive with society evolving at the pace that it's evolving at. And that's why we're behind educationally to every other country. Like we're almost like a third world country educational wise. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. What did dude say yesterday to Adam? And shout out to him. He said, man, ideas are owned by the ones that execute them. There it is. That's the major thing. You just got to learn. You got to bet on yourself. Not everybody's willing to bet on themselves. That's why it's important for us to show what it's like. People be afraid of the work sometimes. Afraid of the work, right? Like you said off camera, right? Your daughter's representing the country doing swimming, right? All the hours. How many swim meets did you have to go to? How many, practices you had to go to? How many years of preparing for this moment? And they don't see that. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah.
Gotta put in the work. Can't cheat the work.
Yeah. Not a clue.
Yeah. And so,
no, I was just, just to add to that, back in the day, it was, people used to be like, oh, if I had it all over to do it again, I would be young again. And Kerry Ann, I'm being honest with you. The older I get, the more I love being older.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not even being funny anymore. Like, being a kid was cool, but being an adult is so much better. And the older I get and the more information I get and the wiser that I get, I never want to revert back to being that. Let's just call it because I used to do a lot of ignorant things, right? Let's just call a spade. But I did it because of just the best reason is I didn't know any fucking better.
I agree with you. I go from when the motherfucking bills hit. I want to be a Toys R Us kid. You shitting me?
You know what? Guess what? It's the give and the take, right? There's right? Everything has an equal and opposite, right? It's the give and the take. So yes, with the adulthood comes responsibilities, but being an adult at the age that I am, the wisdom that comes with it, the experience that comes with it, that's priceless, cuzzo.
Absolutely.
That's priceless.
They say
like this. They say still like this when the bills hit. I love being old. I love it.
They say youth is wasted on the young, and it's true.
Yeah.
And what was it? Because we was talking about, you said you got your first, one, you took a junior role. That was, basically you had the accolades, right, to command the high role, but the opportunities were so far and few, especially for that industry. Like it's like almost niche there, right? It's like, especially matter of fact, what is that like, right? What is it like the marketing in Jamaica, right? Like, what does that look like?
Well, of course it varies from industry to industry, but so first of all, we're a much smaller market, right? So population wise, Jamaica is like about 3 million people, right? Population wise. But what you find that's interesting is segmentation. Of course, in marketing, client segmentation. So if you typically, again, segment your population by demographics, the majority of our population, they're not highly educated and they don't have a lot of financial means, right? Living at just slightly above or below poverty, right? And so as a marketer, depending on the product that you're promoting, you will have to kind of vary your marketing strategy, your marketing activities, your communications, your promotion strategy to fit and align with the market that you're trying to speak to. And so what you will find is that, like, for instance, if you are a bear, right? So let's say you're what's a popular bear that you like? I don't want to call a name and you're like, ugh.
Well, nah, I don't even want to call any name because they're not paying us. Hey, yo.
Okay. So
any random bear.
Wait, you better stop that, Jarrett. You go ahead and say it, bro.
I want to say it, but they ain't paying us.
I know, but you've been promoting it. You've been promoting it anyway.
I got
Come
a
on.
red cup today. I'm matching with Kerry right now. We chilling.
I don't drink beer, Kerry, but my cousin has a favorite beer. And when if I do drink that beer, I'll drink one with him.
All right, we'll say please talk to Blue Moon. Yeah, Blue Moon.
There it is. It's the Blue Moon.
Blue Moon.
Okay. All right. Great. Never heard of them. So great. All right.
It's a Belgian ale.
Let me get you one when you come back to New York.
Yeah, I think it's a Belgian white ale, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know why I like it, Kerry? Because it doesn't taste like traditional beer. It has a very citrusy taste, almost like an orangey citrusy taste. So it's not like, because I just don't like I think beer tastes like piss water, right? Like it's like, especially like hot beer is disgusting. That's why I don't drink beer. It's not the taste.
Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, man.
It's not appealing to me at all. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like.
Yeah, I'm not.
But we went far. We went far. We used that if you're a beer. So we're Blue Moon. We're trying to market to Jamaica.
Right. So if you're coming to Jamaica again, if you're trying to market to the general population, again, you're gonna have to be more creative with it. So yeah, you can do your traditional television, radio and stuff, but you're gonna want to find the communities that you're trying to penetrate. Because again, these are poor communities. So you're gonna have to go in and do your sampling, do your road shows, partner with popular, I could say, dance hall and reggae singers and artists to go into the communities and have these small concerts to get people trying your beer, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's really just recognizing that you're gonna have to flip it up when you're in a country where there is poverty, where there's not a lot of access to things like internet penetration is not as deep as we'd like it to be. You're just gonna have to know how to pivot and get into the minds and hearts and hands of the people you're trying to speak to creatively, more than likely in person, because that's just what it is. I am in financial services. I'm sorry, but I'm in financial services. And the interesting thing about financial services is, again, given the nature of the population, people are not as financially savvy as they should be, right?
Yeah.
And again, too, you're in a developing country where money is tight. People are not earning a lot of money or as much as they need to probably live. It's how do you financially educate them and give them what they need to be empowered to make wise financial decisions and choices that would allow them to save and invest more. So we spend a lot of time on financial education, making sure people are empowered to know how to manage their money. And for us, that's a huge part of our strategy. So yeah, that's what it looks like for us.
I would say, as far as marketing, what it makes, I would think a good marketing strategy for somewhere or island like Jamaica would be to actually help the company in the communities that you want to market in, right? The marketing expense would be to actually help the community, right? Go into the community, find out what they need. If they need a community center, they need a basketball center, they need a soccer field, anything like that, right? You spend that marketing money on that, and they show that you actually care instead of shoving product down their face. So if you are the beer, right, you have the Blue Moon soccer field, and come with a Blue Moon vending machine so you can try.
That's exactly what they do. And because even in my company, JMMB, we have a foundation, right? And that's what the foundation does. It's about the community building and empowering communities and health centers and schools with the equipment that they need just to do what they need to do to serve the community. So yeah, it's very, very important to do that. What I find interesting though, Jarrett, and it's something that I love about the brand that I represent too, is just the authenticity of the brand is so very, very important in a country, again, that's developing, in an economy that's challenging, and people are struggling day to day just to feed themselves and their families, And one of the things that we would have done as a brand is, when we were founded in 1992, so we're a relatively young company, it was at a time when our founder said, look, banks are seen as institutions that just mooch off of people. They want to feed them to death. They're not paying them much interest. How can we form a financial institution that will really serve the everyday Jamaican with very little money in their pocket? How can we give them a chance to earn more on their investments, on their dollar, and to see to the equality of people? And that's how we were founded. And JMMB, as I like to say, we're founded on love, the principle of love, which is, we believe that all human beings are created equally, right? And we believe in the inherent greatness that each human being has within them, and in the power of love to unleash that greatness, right?
Message.
Yeah, so that's the core of our brand. And what that has really done for our brand, it has really helped to catapult us to phenomenal success as a financial brand with relatively few marketing dollars if you were to compare us to our larger competitors, because people really see us as a financial brand that is for them. And that's our corporate tagline. It's your best interest at heart. And so in a developing country, to go back to your point, Jarrett, if people feel heard, if they feel seen, if they feel supported, and if they feel that it's coming from a genuine place, that, look, I really want to partner with you because I believe in you and I'm here to serve you, it really makes all the difference in how your brand shows up in a market like ours.
Message.
That's real. See, I'm just glad I hit it on the nail. That was off the top of the head, Kerry. That was off the top of the head. I was just saying, if I had a couple of dollars, I would want to help the people with some Robin Hood. But that's basic marketing principles, and I think a lot of brands don't necessarily get that. You know what I mean? So that's real. What would? There's a few different ways I want to go with this. I do want to talk about the family aspect, and I also want to talk about the job. What is being in your role and being a C-suite individual in Jamaica? What is the biggest obstacle you think you face?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, well, for me, and I'll just speak, you know, for me personally, is that I think there's still a few things that as people we're still trying to work through, right? So yes, we're in a majority Black situation, but what we're experiencing right now is what I like to call gender imbalance, right? So in Jamaica, women actually dominate more managerial roles and leadership roles than men do. So in our universities locally, 80% of the university population just about is female. Only 20% is male.
Wow.
Bruh.
You know? Yeah.
Was that meant to be the bro? It went perfectly. If that was a mistake, damn, we good.
Nah, that's on point, bro. That is Jesus. You talking about a landslide? God damn, you making me feel bad right now. I ain't even gonna lie right now. Like I'm.
Come on, brothers,
I need my guys to get your shit together.
That's it. Keep it real. Gender imbalance.
Well, I mean, real quick, just to touch on that. You know, we talk about this all the time. Well, they say science, I guess, has proven this to be a fact of women mature faster than guys. Women mature faster than guys. It's a maturity thing. It's knowing what you want a lot faster, right? Now, follow me now. And then we talked about this during dating, hence why most younger women don't like to date a person in their exact age range. They want somebody older, because if you're more mature and you're 12, 13, you don't want another 13. You're like, this kid's an asshole. You know what I'm saying? You want a 50, you want somebody a little bit more mature because mentally you're more mature. I don't know. Like it's working out like that. I don't know.
Well, I'm probably the worst case because my husband is younger than me.
No, but I mean, there's always exceptions. I'm just talking about like in general, right? If you did a poll and said like most women, what do you date? Do you date your age? Do you date younger, or do you date older? For women, most women are gonna say we date older.
Yeah,
you know that's true. That's true.
We just had a lady on. She has a whole app based on that. Fox Hunters Club. Shout out to Brownie.
Shout out to Brownie.
App developed like for young women looking to find older men.
See,
wow.
Whole business line.
And see, she doesn't have an app for women to date younger men.
We suggested.
Yeah, why not?
You know,
might want you at 25.
We could call it the Roadrunner app. I don't know, like
the Roadrunner. That sounds crazy.
Nah, because you know, young guys they running crazy. You know what I'm saying? The Sniper app. I don't know. Call it the Sniper app.
This guy's cooking with grease right now, but that's off camera.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, and maybe vice versa, because predominantly, you know, guys date younger women. So I don't know, like I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it could be something you could debate, but it still has to go two ways, right? If a younger woman wants to date an older guy, but older guys don't like younger women, then it wouldn't be as dominant as it is, because you would keep getting shot down to where you're like, we're not going to do this anymore because it doesn't work. But it does work more often than not, both ways. So it's like, why is it working like that?
Yeah. And I mean, again, that's a whole other psychological, sociological, anthropological conversation. I mean, for me personally, my heart is for the fact that I think so many of our Black men need healing. And I think that that's what we're really seeing, you know. I don't think our education system is set up, and I'm speaking Jamaica now, so I can't speak to what's in the United States, but I don't think our education system is adequately set up to allow boys to flourish in the way that boys learn. right? When you talk about how boys are being raised, unfortunately, too many of our boys are being raised by parents, both women and men. Some men are absent, and even for some men who are present, I'm not sure if boys are being raised and equipped with the tools they need to be raised as healthy, nurtured, emotionally mature men, you know.
Yeah.
And and also I just, you know, a friend of mine and I have this conversation all the time that, you know, men are just seen as providers. Men are not shown the empathy and the sympathy that they need to be shown to heal from whatever it is that they need to heal from. And I think Black men as a racially is probably the lowest tier of the racial ladder there is. Even Black women rank higher than Black men. And so I think there's just so much opportunity for our Black men to be healed. And I think that's what we're seeing, where you see the Black women running ahead and the men are not. And it's really unfortunate. That's my opinion. But
say we didn't talk about that for the last couple of shows, Cuzzo.
That was real. First of all, I wouldn't say how many times have you said that line? You said sociological, psychological, anthropological. You said that shit so smooth.
It was a lot of logical. It was a lot of logical. I started to spell them out in my head, and then I was just like, damn. It's a lot of logicals. It's illogical that I'm even going to try to figure it out.
Repeat that. Yeah.
Yeah. Try saying that 3 times fast.
I'm saying, oh, like shit. But you know, I was gonna say, you know, something else we talk about a lot too, sis. We talk about like, I would love to know, if you don't mind sharing, like how you met your husband, right? Because we talk to a lot of affluent women who are in C-suite positions, and one of the things they say is either one or two things. It's either hard to date, it's hard to find somebody within that level, the mindset and all those things, or it's just, you know, they found somebody early and they've grown with and things like that.
Right.
But some just can't even, you know, it's like either one of the two. So I would love to know from you, especially you being C-suite, being very successful, what was that like?
Yeah, well, I'm one of those, I guess, fortunately or unfortunately, I would have started early. But you know, it's funny. I always come from the place of saying, look, and I say this to all the women, don't go into it with your definition of what it is you want, what kind of man you want, how he needs to look, where he needs to live, what job he needs to have, what his salary needs to be. You need to leave your mind open, right, to possibilities and see the potential of what can be, right?
Baby.
So I met my husband right in my first year out of college. I was working and he was in his first year in college. So he was a freshman and I was a graduate. But guess what? He was going into law and I was already working, having gotten my bachelor's. I was already working in marketing. I hadn't started my master's yet. So here I am. I'm 22 and he's 19. And I meet this guy at church about just starting his law degree. And I'm like, I see potential in this guy, right? My mother was so distressed. She's like, I can't believe that you pick up this mother, young son. Why you pick up this little boy? I'm so embarrassed.
Young boy.
She was so distressed that her big working daughter pick up this freshman college student. What's the matter with you?
He walked in. Hey, Mom. He walked in like, hey, Mom.
You know? I mean, but you know what? Our first date, I mean, obviously he went into it with eyes wide open as well. Our first date was at Pizza Hut. They had a lovely dining restaurant in New Kingston here, because that's what we could afford, right? And that's where it started, right? And I'd say to people, obviously he would have finished his law degree, graduated from law school. When we first got married, I was earning more than he was earning because he was a brand new attorney fresh out of law school. I would have been working for a number of years as a senior manager in a bank. So I was earning more than him when we first got married. But again, it's part of the journey because I see the potential, I see the ambition. And now obviously he out earns me as a senior attorney, as a partner in one of Jamaica's top law firms, and was vice president of the Jamaican Bar Association. He certainly out earns me now. But we had to start from somewhere. And that's my message to women is that, don't go into it with your definition. I love tall, skinny men. My husband was tall and overweight. I mean, let's just keep it real. I love men who dance very well because I love to dance. My husband couldn't catch a rhythm if you paid him, poor thing. But guess what? He was a man of God. He was ambitious. He was studying to become a lawyer. He was just really desirous of being a great husband and a great father. Was determined not to end the way he started. And here I am. And obviously there's no perfect marriage. There's no perfect husband. But I just tell all the girls, I'm like, you're looking for perfection. You're looking for this big entrepreneur that's earning millions of dollars. Look at the potential and invest in that. And you'll be surprised about where you'll go.
Oh my goodness. That's period 5. We went to relation. We went to marriage, y'all. I mean, that's how you get it.
Again, Kerry Ann, we've spoke about this again numerous times on the show. Once again, just the psychology of it.
Mm-hmm.
Women date for stability.
Mm-hmm.
Men date for beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just think about what that even means psychologically, right? We're saying we don't care if she's dumb. We don't care if she can cook, clean, if she's gonna be a great mom. Yeah, if she, she's
you got him on a logically. That was his second logically. He wasn't doing that.
Education, baby. It's the education. I'm a quick learner. Think about what we're saying to ourselves in society without saying it subconsciously, right? We're saying if she's beautiful, I'll take it. Like, that's all that matters to me. But the woman is saying, like, no, I want somebody that can be a provider, that can be a protector, right? That can be a great parent, or, it's a completely different message. It's a completely different message.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? And because it's such a completely different message is the reason that our culture is in the state that it's in right now.
Absolutely.
With the devaluation of the man from the woman's perspective, and now the woman from the man's perspective, right? And now what you're seeing more often than not is a lot of men are now intimidated by a woman that's an earner, intimidated by a woman that's highly educated, intimidated by a woman that says, no, baby, me not stay home and watch the children. You stay home and be the housewife.
You get to the shits.
Right? They actually did a new study on this, right? And they've come out with the numbers, and the numbers are saying what you're saying, like a lot more women are now becoming the financial provider for their household. Absolutely. This is like a big study that's out right now. I'm gonna just say it like this. I think it shouldn't really matter who brings home the most money. To me, that is so irrelevant. Like, you're missing the bigger picture. If you have a partner that is capable of making a great living, you can also go make a great living, and that only strengthens your household.
You gotta listen to him, you learn something.
And because common sense, right? If unfortunately, back in the day, in some, and now still to this day, in some cultures where women are just kind of groomed to be the home provider and the man is now the financial provider. Life be lifing. What happens if all your eggs are in the basket of being provided for by that man, and something happens to that man, whether illness or life or something? Then what do you do?
That's it.
If you're not educated, if you don't have a skill, if you don't have anything now that can help you earn, what do you do? And that's just you and him. God forbid, now you've made a family with this man. Now, what do you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one thing that you said was really important, was being open-minded. I think that's one of the biggest things that I think both sides can get, right? Being open-minded. You said you want a tall, skinny guy. You said my husband was tall and overweight. Like, sometimes it works like that, but you got to figure out what's best for you, what makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's not what we necessarily dreamed of early and I would love a Beyonce and shit like that. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
is what it is, man. We gotta just appreciate each other. But I love the fact you said being open-minded and the fact that y'all
Yeah.
been together so long, man. Kudos to y'all. You definitely get an air horn. Where's my air horn now? shout out to the bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's love. So I'm trying to think where else do we go. That was so real. Where else do we go from here, y'all?
Well, you know, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
This is a question that I ask a lot of people. When you got your education, right? And you said that now you had to go back home to your country, right? You go home and now you start to say, okay, I'm going to be successful here. You start to find success in your country, right? But now that you've been to America, you know now the financial difference between earning in America and earning in your country, right? So I used to work with a lot of immigrant people that were successful in their country, but they're like, I can take my skill set and be more successful doing the same exact work in America and now send that money back home now to start developing businesses back home and or building me a house or something for my family back home. Did you ever think of doing it like that? Because I know a lot of people that I work with, that is their kind of motto. I'm going to come to America, make the American money, but I'm not going to feed the American economic system. What I'm going to do is send my money back home. I'm going to send barrels home full of resources and food and things that we can't get back home, right? And I'm going to build the economic system of where I'm from and help my family that's still there, because we all know that sometimes you come here and your family can't come with you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever think about like doing that as a model or teaching that as like something that should be done to, because you know that you come from a third world country and the resources are so limited?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, so obviously I would have gone and not gotten the opportunity to stay in America. So I did have to come back. And one of
Right.
the things that I had to confront very early, as you said, is just, first of all, appreciating that what I would have been able to enjoy perhaps working and living in the United States would have been very different than my experience here. And it is so. Very much so. And because there are certain access to resources that I just can't get here that I would love to get and just can't. But what I've just recognized is that, and I say it to my fellow Jamaicans who are here for whatever reason, that look, we all have the opportunity to send the elevator back down right where we are. So it's not just about, well, it's only the job of those Jamaicans who are in the first world to build back their communities home at home, which is great, and we appreciate that. Send the money on down. We love you. But for the Jamaicans and all the other developing country nationals who are in their countries and listening even to this podcast, is we can send the elevator back down right where we are. It's even if it's just your time. How many students need help with homework, at homework centers. If you used to go to school in your developing country, there's an alumni association that wants to go in and have maybe a mentorship program with current students, or maybe they just need some books, to put in the library because the library is low on books. Can you make a contribution of a couple of books that you're no longer using that are in good condition and give it to the library? There are so many opportunities to give back. And I think that that's the message that everybody, no matter where they are, can subscribe to. You can send the elevator back down right where you are, whether it be sending it back home, or if you are home, just sending it back down right where you're at. And that's my encouragement. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, sis.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I forgot. I'm trying to think. I got so many questions. I'm like, but I know you, so it's like, damn it, I already know certain stuff. I don't want to ask you.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to say, because you had asked a question earlier, Jarrett, about one of my I guess struggles as a leader, and as an executive. And there are so many. But I think, like any perennial leader, my big struggle is how to continue to show up the way I need to show up for my team and for my people, and it's one of the lessons that I've had to learn over the years. And I always tell leaders as well, anybody aspiring for leadership, is it starts with safety. It starts with helping your team feel safe. Does your team trust you? Do they believe that you have their best intentions at heart? Do they believe that you're in their corner? Or do they feel heard by you? Do they feel valued by you? And it's one of those things that always I guess will be a struggle, because you got the desk work to do, right? I'm sitting at my desk right here. So you got your desk work to do, and you got your deliverables and your targets to reach. But you have a team of people that are coming to the table with all kinds of things, the home problems, the domestic issues, the kids, even just aspiring to some level of self-actualization that they've not been able to achieve. As a leader, I am more than just that. I tell my team all the time, when I have my weekly team meeting, I tell them, switch on your cameras, turn on those cameras. I don't care. My team is like this. I say, keep your satin bonnets on, keep your bunny slippers on. I don't care, because we're a fully remote team. I said, turn on that camera, however you look. I don't care. Why I want the cameras on is that I want to see what's in your eyes. I want to know what you're going through. And it's many a time, guys, that I would literally, at the end of a meeting, I would have to pick up the phone and call somebody who would have been on that call, on that camera. I'm like, something's up with your face. What's going on? And then you hear something is happening at home. I'm like, hey, okay, meet me in the parking lot of such and such supermarkets. I'm going to bring you a bottle of wine. You're going to go home, drink a nice bottle of wine, and take the rest of the day off and sort your head out, right? Or just to see that somebody has a new pair of glasses, or they got a new hairstyle. Those things that really are very basic, but they create connection in such a powerful way as a team leader and as a team generally. And it's something that I always try to encourage and try to keep present of mind to myself, is balancing the day-to-day work, but being present for my team and helping them to feel safe with me, knowing that they can trust that I have their best intentions at heart. And so that for me is something that I always seek to achieve and encourage others to achieve as well.
That's real. I've never had a team lead do that. You know what I mean? Never reach out and be like, I'm just keeping it honest. You know what I mean? But I would love to know too, since like what is, with that being said, right? And we know in the lack of opportunity, like the lack of resources, right? What does the mountaintop look like for you? Or what does it look like when you pass the elevator down?
Well, for me personally, in terms of passing the elevator down right now, I do different things depending on what's going on in my life. But right now, I am on the executive of my high school alumni association. So I used to go to an all-girls Catholic high school. And coincidentally, my daughter just started there as well. So that's another incentive. But I'm head of what they call the Big Sister program.
Yeah.
And so with the Big Sister program, what we do is, as big sisters, as alums, we go in and we have sessions with the girls. So we talk about everything from peer pressure to health and wellness, to study habits, to digital citizenship, anything that we think would be valuable to them as they grow and navigate through the teen years into adulthood, right? And it's also just encouraging other alums to come along for the ride, because sometimes we say that people don't like to help. Sometimes people just don't know how to help. So it's about how to reach out to them to say, hey, we need a guest speaker to come in and talk about wellness. And you're an alum who's a psychologist. Come and talk about mental wellness. Here's a nutritionist talking about physical wellness. Just really encouraging people to come on board and be a part of the conversation. So that for me is what my elevator looks like right now. What it will vary from time to time. But right now, that's what I'm focusing on.
That's what's up.
So and you said that program's in Jamaica?
Right. So this is at my high school in Jamaica. So we have the Alumni Association. I'm part of the Alumni Association's Big Sister program for the high school.
Okay, because the reason that I asked that is because we actually have that program here in the United States. It's two versions. It's one is Big Brother and one is Big Sister. And we actually have that program here in the United States. I used to hear about it a lot more when I was a child. Honestly, as an adult, I don't hear about it as much anymore. So I'm going to do some research and see why it's not as.
Let's get them on. Huh? No, let's get them on. We're connected with the CEO.
No. That's what I'm saying. But like I said, but
get them on.
But back in, like she said, back when I was in school and back when I was like, I was just like high school and stuff like that. They were talking about these programs a lot, like Big Brother, Big Sister, Big Brother, Big Sister.
I never had access to them.
Really?
I've heard about them. Same like Boy Scouts. I never had access to Boy Scouts. I know they were around. They wasn't in my neighborhood. They wasn't on. I ain't seen no flyer in my building. You know what I'm saying? That's real.
So the not Boy Scouts, but up in Throgs Neck, when I lived up in Throgs Neck with my aunt up there, they had the Eagle Scouts.
Yeah.
They had the Eagle Scouts. So I do know that I think it's just like location based where their hubs are. But Boy Scouts, no, but I definitely know like Eagle Scouts is big up in the Throgs Neck area and stuff like that. I think, and this is what we're talking about, right? You know, Kerry Ann, let's just call a spade a spade. Like I say this all the time, like you can't, I'm not going to allow you to straddle the fence. You're not going to tell me that you're super intelligent, your IQ is this, and you're highly educated, and then you just do the most asinine things possible, where I'd be like, explain to me in layman's terms how you think that's going to actually move the culture forward. If the problem, if what you're saying very simply is the inner city youth are undereducated, the inner city youth has less resources and chances at anything to develop themselves, then the answer has to be very simple. Provide education, provide resources, and see if you get a better outcome. But I feel like the smarter they are, the more ignorant they are, because they're doing the exact opposite, which now makes me think you're doing it on purpose because you know better, because it's impossible for you not to know better. You understand what I'm saying? So if my cousin says, well, I didn't have access to him, the answer is why? Why didn't you have access to him? Why? And I understand everything is money and things of that nature, but how about just information? So even if you don't have the resources to do this program or be a part of it, let us let you know that the program exists, because everybody's situation is different. And some people make a way, right? If it's important to them, if their children show enough interest, et cetera, right? But the key factor is he didn't know about it, right? Like you said, like you don't have no information on it. So you know what happens with opportunities that you don't have any information on? You overlook them, you throw them out your mind, you never think about them again, and then you focus your energy on something that's directly in front of you, which more often than not is negative shit.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Cuzzo.
I was making a great point too. Shit.
Oh yeah.
What's going on, Kerry? You should have heard me. But that's the problem with them organizations, bro. Those non-for-profit organizations, they don't have a lot of budget. They don't have the resources, right? So they have to make with their marketing spend, they have to make the best bang for their buck. It might be a nationally television spot for, of course, a couple of markets, and then if you see it, you see it. You don't. But that's going to drive in the leads. We didn't see all that shit. So they need to be. I would love to see more non-for-profits do good marketing. I don't ever see good marketing come from them. Have you seen it? Like
that's a very good point. And let's start reaching out to some of these nonprofits and saying, hey, if you have a program, so you know what? Let's just put it out there. You know, for all our listeners, because a lot of our listeners have jobs and they work for nonprofits and for-profits. To all our listeners, to all our viewers, we challenge you to do this, right? We're talking about opportunity and we're talking about education. We cannot do it by ourselves, right? This is a village. It takes a village, right? It takes a community. So as our community, we are asking you for your help. If you work for a nonprofit, even if you don't, if you know a nonprofit with a dope opportunity, some type of a program, some type of resource, come on the show or give us the information if you don't want to come on the show, and let us give that information out to the community so that we can get it out there, so that, you know, more people can absorb this thing and have a better chance of success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Put
you know,
it in
plain
the
and
chat.
simple.
Put it in the chat, hit us up, DM us, do whatever. Make sure we get the links, make sure we get the word out.
Yeah, because Kerry Ann, let me tell you something, right? One of the biggest staples in our community growing up in the urban community is the community center. Like that is the place where everybody goes. Like that is the resource hub. They got the gym, the weights, the basketball, you know, everything, the after school programs to help you with your homework. Like our community center is irreplaceable. But what is the community centers now doing for the community, right? If this is the staple in our community, for resources, for information, right? Our community center, we used to have people, mothers that would go in there and the director would help them file for public assistance. I mean, this is the one-stop shop to help you with almost anything that you needed to try to get you back on your feet. Internships, right? Because a lot of the politicians, when they're running for office, especially, you know where they go? To the community center. They reach out to our community leaders, and you know what they say? How do I get your vote? Well, you want our vote? Let's get some resources back into the community. This is like, this is what we're talking about here, right? We have to start leveraging our power. We have to understand the power that we have for our votes, right? For our presence. And we have to start saying, if you want this from our community, you're going to have to give something back to our community, and not on a one-time basis, because once you get elected, then if you stay there, whatever, you're going to make laws that are going to affect our community for generations to come. So we need a commitment from you.
Yeah.
How about that? Start holding the people that we put in power accountable.
And Chad, I'll just add to that message too, that I think even as individuals, as working professionals, I think we should always be asking ourselves personally, where can I help? And even if it's a check, because again, going back to my high school alumni association, there's so much that needs to be done at this school, so much that needs to be fixed, and plenty of big sister mentorship opportunities and conversations to be had. But I'll have lots of women say, hey, I'd love to give back, but I just don't have the time. And I respect that. But I'm like, do you have $20? Right? We just need a $20 a year contribution that goes into the fund, the endowment fund, that goes towards improving the infrastructure in the school. If that's what you can give that. Everybody can give something. If you don't got the money, then give the time. If you don't have the time, you can give a recommendation. You can point us in the connection of some resources that can be poured in. But everybody always needs to be asking, how am I sending the elevator back down in my community? And if we all answer that call and do the digging and find a way to give back to something, man, we'll just have a better world. It's just no simpler than that, I think.
Support comes in all forms. And also, I think I want to add, I think this is my last question for you too, sis, like, because we talked about it off camera as well. Life be lifing. You're doing a lot, right? You're successful, you have family, you have kids. How are you balancing all that? What do you do to get that release? Like, what do you do to make sure you're on top of your game?
Just barely. Well, I mean, you're right. So, I mean, I got my day job. I have family. I have a husband, 2 kids, no dog. But I also have my own podcast, which is the Internal Marketing Podcast. And I'm the producer, the host, the cook, the bottle washer, everything like that. And as you say, life has been lifing. And I like to say, I'm part of the sandwich generation where, you have the kids on one end and you have the aging parent on the other end, right? Which has its own challenges. But first of all, I think I've just had to learn about giving myself grace. It's something I said earlier on another topic, but recognizing that, first of all, you can't do it all, right? And we shouldn't be pressuring ourselves to try and do it all. And I had to come to a place where I'm like, look, if you're doing too much and it's not helping your mental or physical well-being, then you need to stop, take a break, and reassess, right?
Message.
Yeah.
Coming up with that list, right? Coming up with that list as far as, well, these are the things that I need to do. These are the things I want to do. What are the things that are super important? Prioritize those. And then having identified your priorities and your timelines, just having that honest conversation with yourself about, well, what's possible and what's not possible, and making wise choices in that regard. It's really as simple as that. And so for me, Jarrett knows this. I was typically very regular on LinkedIn. I have not been as frequent on LinkedIn as I used to be for maybe about 5 months now, because I just didn't have the bandwidth. I'm going to get back there, but there are just some boxes that I needed to check off. But yeah, it's just about being very honest about what you can and cannot take on, and making those tough choices and being completely unapologetic about protecting your boundaries, protecting your mental and physical well-being, and the rest will take care of itself.
That's real.
I did have a question. I thought about what you said earlier, because this is a big debate amongst people that are born in the United States versus now. Look at what's going on with the immigrant population coming in, and in a lot of cases displacing people that are born here that are in need here, right? A lot of people are saying that the immigrants that are coming into the country actually now have more rights and are given more opportunities and resources than the people that actually live here and were born here. What do you think about that?
Wow. So you're going to get me in hot water, aren't you, Chad?
No, you know why? Because it has to be talked about, right? as all of us being technically like immigrants of this country, that if your people were born here, you're an immigrant technically. I'm just saying, think about if you're struggling here, right? And I'm not saying like this is a political thing, but people look at what's going on around the world. And people is like, quick topic, they're saying like we gave 100 million, 100 billion to Ukraine and da 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 da. Do you know that if we just gave that money to people that were homeless and needy here, we could have almost solved almost every one of the problems that we're having with people starving and people being homeless. And if we actually, all that money that we sent to another country, if we actually reinvested that into our own economy and help the people that are actually live and born and are feeding the economy here, because make no mistake about it, somebody being homeless still feeds this economy. Somebody being on any type of assistance still feeds this economy. You know why? Because that one person gives 15 people a job. Be clear on that. Like, again, this is the education factor that comes into it, right? When we get in trouble as children, as you know, a lot of guys, when you get in trouble, you give like 17 people a job. It's the cop that arrests you, the sergeant, the patrol, everybody that has to handle you all the way to the jail. Then it's the medic that got to look at you, the judge, the stenographer, the court officer. Do you understand what I'm saying? You give 17, 18, 19 people one job for one person, because every single person needs to be there for one person. So let's not make no mistake about it, right? Even though people are struggling here, they're still technically feeding this system. How do you feel? You know, how does it make you feel like if that was to happen, like in your country where you're like, yo, we're starving over here and people don't have jobs here? Not to say don't give people opportunities, but how do you give somebody else an opportunity or resources that you're not giving to the people that are here feeding the system? It has to be talked about.
Yeah, I understand because it's a conversation. I mean, listening to podcasts like this, I know it's a conversation that's taking place. And of course, I really don't even want to oversimplify what's going on, because I appreciate that anything having to do with international relations, international affairs, and how countries spend their money and the relationships they choose to maintain with other countries, there are many complex reasons why they do that. So I'm not about to oversimplify it. My suggestion, this is just my humble opinion as just as an average world citizen that has no influence at all, is the fact that I do believe the conversation that's not happening is why are people leaving their countries to go to the United States and I guess by extension Canada to a lesser extent. And there are reasons why that is happening, and I'm not sure if that's the conversation that's being had. Because with due respect, you know, and this is again is just my understanding and my opinion out of that, is that if as a world economy, we're not setting ourselves up in a way where countries, individual countries, are being economically empowered to take care of themselves and feed their people, then what you're going to have is exactly what we're having, where too many people are going hungry in those countries and moving to where they think there is greener grass, right?
Message.
It's not sustainable, right? When I see the people just kind of crossing the border, how many thousands a day, I'm like, it's not sustainable. I mean, I get why people would want to do that because, again, we know poverty. I'm in a country where poverty is a real thing, and Jamaicans are part of those people crossing the borders. Let's keep it real. I get the poverty, but where is the conversation about what should we now be doing to help or to empower, if not help, but to empower those countries that need to be better and do better at feeding and supporting our people? You know, when I think of, I guess, a country like Venezuela, and again, it's complex politics, I get that, but Venezuela has been under economic embargo for years now, right? Their people are starving. What are they going to do? They're going to go to the United States. But yet, the United States, perhaps, and people who don't want the Venezuelans up there, well, are you going to try and see, well, maybe do we need to loosen up the embargoes that we've had on Venezuela for the last few years? So maybe we can feed more people. I don't know. You know, I'm like, where do you expect the people to go? If you put an economic embargo on a country, for whatever reason, and the people get hungry, recognize they're going to have to leave and find food, and they're going back to you. So do you need to probably think about what are the policies and the embargoes and the sanctions that you're putting in place in other countries that are probably fueling that behavior? Again, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah, you're right.
But the broad conversation has to be, what are all of us doing to empower every nation to be able to feed and sustain itself, holding each other mutually accountable, because these people are leaving literally to eat and live. They're not going there to just shoot up the place and become criminals. Most of these people are literally just hungry, and their countries are not places where they can find food. So for me, that's the conversation that needs to happen. What are we doing to empower these countries so that they can be better at feeding themselves and providing for their families?
Because it's only, you see, remember, if I say we came from poverty here, but we came from poverty in this system, but if somebody else comes from poverty from a completely different system, they don't even understand the system. So if we're behind, imagine where they are. You understand what I'm saying? So again, you add in the lack of resources, the lack of knowledge of available resources, and now you're gonna create this cesspool of so many people that are impoverished. It's gonna be pandemonium. It's gonna be pandemonium because you're not empowering people to step out of that space and elevate out, right? And just to give you an example, this is why I quit my job. I was in construction 20 years. I started as it's not nothing I ever wanted to do in my life. It was an opportunity when I came home from the military. It was good money. I took it, right? I was already making money, but I said, you know what? This has better benefits, right? I had my son. I made an executive decision as a parent to step down less because I was making way more and take it. But the reason I left my union was because I'm like, let me get this straight. There's 8,000 people in my union. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, 8,000 members in the union and we're all workers, right? That's fine, right? How many now seats are above the worker class, right? Where's the elevation, right? Where's the elevation? Even if I get education, where's the elevation opportunity? So let's say there's 15 seats on the executive board of the guys that make 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 that wear the suits. So after like 10 years, 12 years, I've moved up the ladder. I'm like, you guys are still in the same seats. And when you get up, you only play musical chairs. So you take this seat and now you're this title, and you take this seat for this title because you're about to retire. So you take this for the higher pay. So when you retire, it's a musical chair game. But what about the other 8,000 people that are now still the workers, right? And so I said to them, I said, where is, and now we give a lot of money out to all these organizations and soccer and teams. And I said, where's the higher education money? Where is the money for members to go to school? Where is the money for members to educate themselves to get out of the worker class? So when you're having these, so like if we're the union and we're the workers, we have conversations with contractors and people that own companies. And sometimes these conversations don't go well. You know why? Because those guys have never been workers. They go to college, they get their degrees, they come out, and they don't understand what it is to be a worker. They don't understand the difference. So I'm like, well, you would have a better conversation if the worker became the company. If you educated the worker, he become management. And then when you have conversations, you're now talking to a former worker. The conversation's now different. The relationship now is different, right?
It's always like that. Always.
Right? And you know what they said? You know what they said to me? They're like, yeah, but we don't do that because we're a worker union, right? I said, and this was my breaking point. I said, so we take classes, education classes, right? Certification classes. Everything is certified with all the new rules. I said, you have ESL as a class. They was like, yeah. I said, where's Spanish as a second language for the predominantly English speaking people in this union? And then they got silent. I said, let me say it again. 8,000 members, 6,000 of them, their primary language is English. The primary language in the United States is English. But you have a ESL class, English is second language class for the 2,000 members so that they can acclimate. But you don't have Spanish or other languages for the majority of the people here to learn. I said, I got to get out of this. You understand? You understand now?
But bro,
I can't do it no more.
But that's how it is also in tech. To give you a similar drain, look at sales. You know who the first ones to leave in business? The salespeople. The first one to get fired are the salespeople. 77% fail within the first year. And guess what? You know how much data we leave with? We are the ones talking to the customer.
See?
We got the most information. We got the most data. We got all that shit. And we're never brought to the table.
See?
You know who I got to tell my conversation to? I got to tell it to my manager. My manager got to tell his manager. His manager going to tell it to somebody. And maybe it might get up to run as a flagpole up to the CEO or the CMO, and they take that data and actually implement something. It never works like that, bro. That's just what it is.
But we can't. My problem is we can't accept that as
I'm not saying it's right. It's just
no. You understand?
That's why we betting on us.
And that's why I left, Kerry Ann. That's why I left technically the system. And people were like, yo, you know how much money you make? You're going to leave. I said, it's not about me, bro. It's about the culture. Because yes, okay, I moved out. I don't live in the hood anymore. I live in suburbia. I've built my house. I've been here 14 years. But my family still lives down in the hood. And I still visit my family, which means I'll still will be a product of whatever happens in that environment when I revisit it, or my family's. So that's not an answer. And they tried their best to get me to understand, like, oh, this is the best way. No, this is not the best way. This is the best way to keep us oppressed. Right? Now watch this. If I'm in here 20-something years doing physical labor, now I'm in my 40s, my 50s, I'm ready to retire. I need, let's say, a year or two to work. But now you got guys coming in 18, 19 years old. Less pay, less experience, but physically more strong. So now and less educated. So all the things that I'm not going to tolerate, they don't know better. So now you got the older guys fighting the younger guys for these jobs because nobody's elevating. Everybody's still in the same pool. The young guys versus the old guys now. Is it fair for somebody that's been in this work or any work 20 years to fight somebody that's just been in a year, 2 years? No, it's not.
But Kerry, you hear about it right now. It's just ageism. That same thing happening in tech. I know people 45, 50 years old that run multi-million-dollar campaigns. They cannot get a job. Because why am I going to pay you a $300,000, $400,000 base salary when I could get John over here for $80,000? He's starving. He's hungry. He ready to get to it, right? And we'll make some mistakes, but we'll budget for it. We'll be okay.
Now watch this. Now I'm directly related to not only me, but to Jarrett. Jarrett's mother was an assistant principal, which means she's a veteran teacher. At her salary, if she wanted to change schools, it would be very difficult. You know why? Because they're gonna be like, for your salary, we could get 3 to 4 brand new teachers.
Absolutely.
Am I lying, Jarrett?
Absolutely. That's the name of the game, man.
You see, but this is, again, like, this is when I talk about being older and truly understanding what's going on in the world. If our problem is education, if our problem is opportunity, why are our teachers some of the lowest paid in any industry? Our teachers should be some of the highest paid. You know who gets paid more than teachers? Police officers. You know who gets paid more than teachers? Correction officers. So that's hilarious for me that they all work for the same city agency. The city of New York has a disparity in pay between the people that'll keep you in jail or have to take care of you once you get in trouble than the people whose jobs is to educate you so that you don't get in trouble in the fucking first place.
Guess what? If they get paid, somebody might get educated. If they get paid, somebody might actually be incentivized to educate somebody.
But I'm just saying, isn't that not the definition of like insanity? Like,
absolutely.
That is a culture where how is that sustainable? Explain it to me. When the person that is paid, that goes to school, that gets the education, and their job is to provide the foundation from a child all the way up to ensure that we produce the most possible model citizens that can support the system. And they get treated the worst and get paid lower than the people that now get paid just to chase the criminals or keep the criminals locked up once you make a mistake. That's not sustainable. That's all I'm saying. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So this is my problem with society in general. Like, they say one thing and they do a complete opposite thing. And then you want to sit there with all these degrees and all this accolades behind you and try to convince us that that's smart, that's intelligent, that's basic dumb shit.
And that's the reason why we also name more than a title, because we don't care about your fancy title. You could be a dumbass. That's why we want to have you on and know the real you.
And that's why your podcast, Kerry, and that's why our podcast and podcasts in general. And I'm so grateful for the technology age where information is now a true super highway. It is finally awakening people to just the bullshit of what the system is designed for it's not designed for us to win, Carrie. So we're born in poverty, behind. We're born as a certain race, color, behind. Women, double behind, considering what you guys had to go through to even, right? And back in the day, you couldn't even own property. You couldn't even do nothing without a husband, right? Let's talk about it. Behind. And then the educational system is designed to keep you behind. Now they have social promotions. Social promotions? No kid left behind, meaning like, listen, whether he learns or not. Now, what does a teacher do now? Do they actually care about the kid? No, because they're like, it doesn't matter what I do. They're going to pass them anyway. Look at what you're doing to the educational system.
And you know what the teachers say?
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
They don't care. They got to pay some bills. They broke.
So that's all I'm saying, Carrie.
Yeah.
Like we have to have these uncomfortable conversations because we have to make uncomfortable conversations comfortable. We have to start making conversations commonplace because I feel like too many people think that, oh, it didn't happen to me. I'm above this economically. I'm at a different level. I'm above this type of recourse. And you don't realize once again that you still travel. You still end up in places with people that are not on your level. Your children still end up interacting with people that don't have the same moral background or capabilities of being what you are. Now you're a victim, or you're gonna be a victim to whatever that other person is that you thought you would never have to deal with decides to do in that moment.
Yeah. Well, you know, Chad, my thinking is always I encourage people to also come from a place of opportunity because the world is changing all at the same time. All right. So of course, with AI and what AI is doing, that's a whole other conversation. And that's fitting it uproot what's going on in terms of the world of work, how business is done, how people work. But you know, what's interesting is that a couple of months ago, I went back to the University of Maryland and I was giving a talk to the class, the current graduating class of the full-time MBA cohort, right?
Okay.
When I was doing my MBA at Maryland, full-time MBA program, it was 200 of us in the class.
Okay.
You know how much, and that was in 2001. Do you know how much it is now? 50. 50. So what it says is a couple of things. First of all, the demand for a full-time MBA has gone down. But we have companies also saying, look, we're taking away college degrees as an entry requirement for a lot of our jobs, right? I'm reading that on the news.
Yeah.
Then we have social media platforms, great platforms like LinkedIn, but even YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, where people are now empowered to put themselves and their knowledge and their skills out there. So more and more, your degree doesn't mean anything much anymore these days, or you don't even need a degree to get certain places if you want to earn a living, if you want to build a name for yourself, if you want to start a company. And so my encouragement to folks is always recognize that you are probably living in the most exciting time in history where all you need is an internet connection and a device pretty much like this, where you can put yourself out there, right? Where you can sit in New York and connect with me in Jamaica, right? I'm in a third world country with limited resources, and I have a podcast where I haven't published it yet, where I'm interviewing the Seth Godin for my little podcast, a little Black Jamaican girl.
Yeah.
Right? This is the kind of power that we have available to us to leverage. And so that's my encouragement to folks, is see where the opportunities are that you can leverage, because the days are gone. You don't need an MBA to succeed. You don't even need a college degree to succeed. You need to look at where the opportunities are, dig in, and position yourself, put yourself out there to win. And you guys are doing a great job of that. And I'm just happy to be a part of your journey.
Screaming baby. That one. With that said, I was gonna say that's a great way to.
No, it's beautiful. Just once again, though, it's still education, Queen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me tell you something.
Absolutely.
I didn't know anything about this podcast journey. My cousin was the podcast guru. Like I said, I was in construction. I had 3-4 businesses. I'm the business guy. I went to school for business. I learned business first, and then I went to school to learn more about business. I've been learning podcasting from him. So technically, I'm apprenticing under him. You understand what I'm saying? Letting him guide me and say, "No, this is," and but again, it's education. We still every single day get up 8, 9 in the morning and go, and we go to conferences and we fly out and we learn and we take notes, and it's still education. So that's just the key to anything, right? To anything you want to do, whether it's school trained, like I said in the beginning, or apprentice, it's education.
Education, yeah.
I would also just say, just to end this off too, just say, when we started, we didn't know shit about shit. We just started. I'm just keeping it real. I didn't know shit about podcasting. I just thought podcasting was a great way to generate a lead, and I damn sure didn't want to send a whack ass email.
But you was doing Rankable, so you knew.
No, but I didn't know anything about it. My first Rankable episode, I had no light. I had cases, headphones. It was crazy, bro. Go back to them old Rank. They was fucking crazy.
No, I'm talking about from when me and you decided to make this into a business. You already like 2-3 years in already.
So at that point, now I got a ring light. Now I got a good headphone. I got a Shure mic. Like now, because that's the point, right? Yeah. You guys gotta just start. Education is absolutely key, but you're gonna learn and grow as you go. You know what I mean? Nothing's gonna be perfect. The show is never gonna look perfect to us, right? This is our baby. It's never gonna be perfect, but you gotta keep growing, going. You gotta keep learning. Every day we learn. Now to the point where we can do 100,000 views on a YouTube. Never knew YouTube. That was 6 months ago. We didn't know. You know what it was, cuz I'm like, we're gonna figure it out. And did we not? So that's the message for anybody listening. Just figure it out. How bad do you want it? We wake up every morning with this shit on our mind. We go to sleep with this on our mind. We know what the impact is going to have. But I just put one up on LinkedIn today. Somebody just said, man, you remember them days when your brother was driving the Intrepid and I remember watching you play ball in the park. You know what you've told me? To believe in myself. You can't put an ROI on that. Yeah. And so we're doing that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the message, y'all. Just go out there, do it. Be it, learn, be yourself, and be the best at it that you can be, man. Don't compare yourself to anybody. You're not going to be Kerry. You're not going to be me. You're not going to be Chad. Yeah. Be you.
Love it.
Rocking.
This was such a dope episode. Miss Kerry Ann, I am now.
Every time you say your name, you get a horn.
And right now, gotta meet you in person. You know, I'm so angry because I will be in your country next week.
Yeah.
And I wish you were closer where I could just come say hello and stuff like that.
Yeah, you never know. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure something out. But that would be nice.
Love that.
That would be dope. But
I'm supposed to be in New York later this year, so maybe we should plan for that.
When you come back to New York, I would love to meet up with you in person. And
I'm taking you to Jerk House. We're going uptown. I gotta take you uptown to 233rd. We gotta go uptown. We gotta take him to Jerk House, or we could go to the joint. What's the joint? Flavors. Jerk House is that shit.
I've never been to Jerk House.
Jerk House is the rest. So we gotta take you to Jerk House. We could go to Flavors. We could do whatever you want to do.
I've been to the Jerk Cart.
Jerk Park.
The Jerk Cart, the guy that's on 233rd, right off the highway with the 3 grill. Out there. I've been to him.
That's up the block. No, that's a Jerk House is up the block from that.
Okay. I'm about to say I've been to him. I don't know what you call him.
No, we'll take Kerry to both. Right at the side. You tell us what's authentic. You tell us who's fronting.
Let me tell you something. When you come from, he's out there at night. He's not in daytime. Like when you come from the club and stuff like that. I swear to God.
Yeah.
This guy's out there with 3 smokers. And I mean, when you're talking about a lot, there is no store. He's just out there with grills.
Yeah, they do that in Jamaica too. They do that in Jamaica.
And cars line up, right? Cars line up. There's a line, and he sells amazing food. Amazing. So I would love that. This has been a dope show.
But if there's anything, sis, even off the show, you already know anybody we connect with. You already know the spiel. Anything we can do to help you, we got you. When you come to New York, let us know. I've got your number. We're gonna start the group chat as well. But I just want to say thank you, sis, for being just a great friend, just a great person. You know what I'm saying? From day one, we didn't know each other from a hole in the wall. We connected off of LinkedIn. It was authentic from day one. It was like, hey, what's going on? Let's connect. No, let's connect tomorrow. Let's get on the call. Let's see what's up. Let's get to know what each other does. And if I see something, sometimes I'll be going to go. I might not even be able to read the whole post. I see you post and I'm liking. I don't care what it looked like. I'm gonna support you. You know how we do. You know how we do.
Same here.
And that's
it's
real.
all love. It's all love. It's all love.
What we got coming up next week, Cuzzo?
Oh shit! On the 21st, we got Ty Smith. He's coming through. He's going to tell us how to make money with other companies. So, for instance, guys, it's like affiliate marketing, but you can get money making your own business, selling Verizon products, selling, Sony, selling all these different brands products. He's going to show us how to make 6 figures with that. And then on the 23rd, we got a LinkedIn legend, 4-time LinkedIn top voice, Morgan Ingram, pulling up. Y'all asked for it, we got it. Y'all asked for Morgan. We've been trying to make that happen.
We already know how to make.
You about to...
We already know how to make money selling other people's services. It's called bootlegging. Back in the day, if you wanted cable and you couldn't afford cable, I just run the cord from my cable.
Shout out to whoever created the box back in the day.
How many Amazon Fire Sticks you know that we done moved in the hood?
But we'll teach you how to do both. Yeah, y'all can get the best of both worlds. You come in. So shout out to that. And with that being said, yo, thank y'all for another episode of More Than Entitled Queen. Much love as always, and we'll see y'all next week.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I've done it all, just one.